Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks. And last night somebody wanted to put this, and I inadvertently left out the S and didn't notice it. And I did delete that file. And the person I'm doing this for, I will put this file on. Then you can make it whatever size you want. He wants to make a cake topper, set a 6-inch cake, so you have to play around with that yourself. But this is the picture that he sent on Facebook. And it's a little fuzzy because it's a bitmap. Now, in this case, go up to bitmap and resample, and it's at 300, but I think I've already put it to 300. I don't think it was 300. But normally when you do that, you go to a bitmap and convert it to a bitmap. Well, in this particular case, you don't have to. It worked really well by just tracing that bitmap. So I use outline, trace, clip art. It'll take just a second to do this. And hit OK. Your new copy will always be on top. Now we'll use our yellow box trick, put it to the back of the page, and you'll see some white areas that it filled in. There's a couple ways to get rid of this, but there's less whites than black, and the blacks are kind of broken up. So go to Arrange, Ungroup, click off of it, and then zoom in and take your pick tool and select that white and hit the delete key. They're probably an RGB white, and so they won't engrave, but I always like having it a little crisper. Now we've gotten rid of all the whites. Let's get rid of our background. Let's Control G and group it together. Let's get these out of the way. Let's hit P, put it in the center of the page. Let's zoom in here a little bit. And he was asking, actually this morning, I was real happy he replied. He was wanting to know how I did it. So just go under the polygon tool to the basic shapes. It'll come up with basic shapes. Just pick the heart, holding down the control button so you get kind of a perfect heart, and then hit P. Now let's zoom in here a little bit. And we need to make it a little bit bigger, and you can make it bigger by just doing the angle and hitting P. And that's going to work because we're going to put a contour. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. That'll work. And the word is too big, so you could stretch your H, your heart. And then well, let's just make it bigger entirely. So everything is inside. Now the arrow now is a little bit small. So we're going to go to Arrange and Ungroup. And we're going to select the arrow and using one of the diagonals. Now you need to group it together before you do this because those are made up of different parts. And then hit P, put it in the center of the page. Start moving your mouse and then hold down the control button. And it'll be right in the center. That looks pretty good. We're going to go and ungroup it again, and I'm going to show you why. We're going to zoom in here, and it didn't trace this part of the arrow perfectly. But what I would do in this scenario, go up to Arrange, it is ungrouped, select that one, and this one's better than these two, but I would still get my shape tool and select that one and this one, and then right click and put it to a line. Now it's even better than it was. Now we can just delete this one, Control D and make a duplicate, start moving it, and then keep your control button down. Get it about where you want. Delete this one, Control D, and you could do this mathematically, but on such a small item, nobody's going to notice that they're not spaced out equally. And for the video, that's probably good enough. Now there's two ways to put this boundary. Let me just get rid of this thing. If you use just the boundary tool in this scenario, it's going to fill in these gaps, but we're going to do that. So we're going to select it all, and we're going to go to the boundary tool, and you see what I'm talking about. Now that won't really matter because when we contour it, it'll contour those out. But what you can do, and this is a little trick, just let's zoom in, take a 2-point line, and just go from that node to that node, to that node, to that node. Then when you contour it, or when you make your boundary. It didn't go around that. Now let's nudge the boundary out of the way and it looks pretty good. Now I did notice when I was making the first one that the arrow isn't perfect. And when you don't have something perfect, it's going to contour it the same amount of or it's going to be off that much again. So what I would do is make the arrow a little bit more perfect. Matter of fact, let's take all these, right click, and turn them into a line. That ought to be good to go. Then I'm going to cursor it over again a little bit more, go to effects, contour. We're just going to contour it to the outside one time at 1/8 of an inch and hit apply. And it's a little funny right here, but that's good enough. Go to range, break contour apart, grab the outside. Well, we can actually delete this heart by hitting delete. Take this new contour and nudge it over the exact same amount. We're almost there. Now, it was going to be a cake topper, and I don't know what size. And I would actually convert this hair line. We don't need the contour tool anymore. Convert it to red just so you'll know it's a hairline. And just word of warning, there might be some hairlines in this drawing. And there's ways to print around that. And I've got a couple of videos on that. Now, let's group this thing together. Control G. It's 3 inches. That might be pretty good for a 6-inch cake. So we're going to call that good. Then what I would do is take let's zoom in a little bit. Take a rectangle tool and make a rectangle about 1/4 of an inch and unlock your ratio here and only make it like 5 inches long. Then we want the bottom ones to be rounded. So we're going to grab here, and this is unlocked, and this is your bottom. So we're going to round that off to about to the center, and then round this one off. And what that does, it makes it look a lot better, but 2, it will stick in the cake a little bit better. Now, to make everything perfect, hit P and put it in the center of the page. Let's zoom in here. Let's grab it, and when you get that 4-pointed cross, holding down the control button so it'll stay in the center. I'm going to actually back up a little bit. Let me zoom in lower. There we go. Grab it, grab that anywhere right in there. And this is pretty good. Just take it. You could use your weld tool, but this is so easy. Just use the virtual segment delete key and delete that and delete that. Now what I would do, I would take my heart and cursor over. Let's ungroup it. Take just the heart outline, nudge it over a couple times. Take your new line, nudge it over a couple times. Use the Smart Fill tool. I feel pretty confident it's not going to leak, so I'm not going to draw the triangle. I'm going to nudge my Smart Fill over. I'm going to left click, right click, make sure it's a hairline, and then nudge it back. What the Smart Fill tool did, it basically welded it, made it all one piece where you can see this is 2 pieces. Now this is all one piece, and it'll cut good. And there's a lot of things you could do with this. We've got a little bit of a hiccup right there, easily fixed. Grab those nodes and delete them. You don't need those nodes, and delete them. Everything else looks pretty good. Pretty neat cake topper. I hope that helped a little bit, and thank you for watching.